I never believed a handful of words could detonate an entire life. Yet that is exactly what happened on a random Tuesday night while I was stirring tomato sauce in our small kitchen in Seattle. For 12 years, I shared a bed, a bank account, and a future with my husband, Tom. We had plans. We had routines. We had what I thought was a solid, ordinary marriage built on mutual trust and quiet devotion. Tom came home from work that evening with a look I had seen before, the expression of a man who had made a decision alone and expected compliance rather than conversation. He did not kiss me. He did not shrug off his coat. He simply stopped in the doorway, hands still buried in his pockets, and fired the sentence that blew my life apart. Rachel, make sure the apartment is spotless. My sister just had the baby. She's moving in with us for 6 months so you can help with the newborn. My wooden spoon froze mid-stir. Garlic hissed in the pan. The clock on the wall hummed its mechanical pulse into the silence. He was not asking. He was not suggesting. He was informing me, as though I were hired staff in a house he owned alone. I have been a teacher for 15 years. I wake at 5:30 every morning. I arrive at my 4th grade classroom by 7 and spend my days juggling 30 children, lesson plans, grading, parent emails, and a principal who believes self-care is a motivational poster in the staff room. By the time I drag myself home around 5, exhaustion has seeped into my bones. Yet I still cook. I still clean. I scrub the bathroom and fold the laundry and spend weekends deep cleaning while prepping materials for the coming week. Now Tom had casually decided that on top of everything, I would add unpaid full-time nanny to my responsibilities for his sister's child without checking whether I agreed, whether I was capable, or whether our budget could support 2 additional mouths. I drew a slow breath, fighting to keep my voice level. Tom, can we talk about this? This is not a small favor. I work all day. The apartment is already cramped for the 2 of us, and he cut me off with a single raised hand. There is nothing to discuss, Rachel. Olivia needs help with nowhere, and you are the only one in the family who can give it. She arrives on Sunday. It was Tuesday. I had 5 days to prepare to share my home with a woman I barely knew and a newborn who would cry at all hours and upend everything. Olivia had always been an enigma. She is 5 years younger than Tom and works as a nail technician downtown. At the handful of family gatherings I had attended over the years, she remained polite yet distant. My attempts at conversation died in one-word answers. She would avoid eye contact, roll her eyes when she thought I was not looking, or abruptly walk away mid-sentence. I had brushed it off as social awkwardness, perhaps mild jealousy of her older brother's seemingly perfect life. But as I mechanically stirred the sauce that night, little memories began clicking together in my mind like puzzle pieces I had never realized existed. The nights Tom disappeared for emergencies involving Olivia and returned hours later, exhausted but evasive. The whispered phone calls on the balcony, last-minute canceled plans because Liv needed him to run over their dot at dinner. I tried again, more carefully. I understand your sister needs support, I said, placing his plate before him. But 6 months is a long commitment. And where is Ben in all this? He is the baby's father. Tom kept his eyes fixed on his food, chewing slowly. Ben is overwhelmed. First-time father, lots of pressure. Olivia thought it would be better to get some space for a while. The explanation felt hollow, entirely wrong. Ben, in every interaction I had shared with him, was calm, steady, and hardworking. A construction contractor, soft-spoken, unfailingly gentle with Olivia, the kind of man who offered to fix your leaky sink for free because it would only take 5 minutes. Nothing about him suggested he would abandon his wife with a newborn. The thought of domestic abuse flickered through my mind and died just as quickly. I had never witnessed so much as a raised voice from Ben. If anything, he deferred to Olivia on nearly everything. That night, Tom fell asleep within minutes, his usual tactic when he wished to avoid difficult conversations. I lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, and knot twisting tighter and tighter in my stomach. Why did this feel so much bigger than extra chores and a cramped living space? Why did it feel like something crucial was being hidden from me? The next day at lunch, I cornered my best friend, Erin, in the staff room. We have known each other since college, and she reads my moods as though they are printed in bold letters across my forehead. "You look like you have seen a ghost," she said, dropping her salad onto the table. What happened? I told her everything. Tom's non-negotiable decision, the 6-month timeline, the strange story about Ben not coping, Olivia moving into our space so I could help. By the time I finished, Erin's eyes had narrowed, her jaw set firm. "Rachel, that is shady as hell," she said flatly. "A husband making a decision like that about your home without consulting you? That is a massive red flag for control. And that excuse about Ben, it does not add up." Her words echoed through my mind all afternoon while I tried to explain fractions to 9-year-olds. On autopilot, I walked them through examples while my brain replayed every strange moment with Tom's family. Why was he so authoritarian about this? Why did Olivia need to flee to her brother instead of her own husband? Why did my instincts feel like someone had yanked an invisible alarm cord? Saturday arrived like a heavy fog settling over everything. Tom left early to pick up some of Olivia's belongings and returned around, with 2 enormous suitcases and a portable crib balanced awkwardly in his arms. Seeing that crib in our living room made the entire situation snap into terrifying focus. "Where exactly are they going to sleep?" I asked, suddenly viewing our cramped 2-bedroom apartment with new eyes. "In the spare room," he answered without looking at me. Spare room was a generous description. It was really our storage closet with a window stuffed with old boxes of seasoned clothes and the exercise bike we never used. We spent the afternoon clearing it out, setting up a narrow twin bed and assembling the crib. While we worked, I watched Tom handle Noah's tiny onesies and blankets with surprising expertise. He sorted them by size, folded everything precisely, knew instantly which items were burp cloths and which were swaddles. Tom had never shown the slightest interest in babies. We had tried to conceive for a while, then let the dream fade quietly when fertility treatments proved financially unrealistic. Anytime children came up in conversation, he would shrug and say, "If it happens, it happens." Now, watching him move with such practiced familiarity, something scratched at the back of my mind. "Have you met Noah already?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. He did not hesitate. "Yes, I visited the hospital the day he was born." My hand froze on the crib railing. He had gone to the hospital to meet his sister's baby and never mentioned it to me. Tom usually shared boring details about traffic or amusing commercials he had seen, but he had forgotten to mention something as significant as meeting his new nephew. My gut twisted into a tighter knot. That night was worse. Tom grew restless, up and down, pacing between the bedroom and bathroom, checking his phone, pretending to need water. When he finally drifted off, he mumbled in his sleep something he had never done in all our years together. I could not decipher the words, but I recognized the tone. Panic. Sunday morning dawned gray and drizzly, fitting weather for what was to come. Tom rose early, showering and dressing as though preparing for a special occasion. He shaved with unusual care, styled his hair meticulously, and reached for the expensive cologne I had given him. Our 10th anniversary, the one he reserved only for significant events. "I am going to pick them up," he announced, grabbing the car keys. "Would you like me to come?" I offered. He shook his head. "No, you can stay and finish getting the place ready." As though our apartment was not already spotless. As though my entire function was to make his life comfortable and his guests feel welcome. After he left, silence settled around me like a blanket to sizes to small, pressing, suffocating. I wandered from room to room, imagining Olivia's toiletries crowding our bathroom, baby supplies piling on the dining table, Noah's cries echoing down the tight hallway at 2 in the morning. But beneath the practical dread, something darker stirred. Loose pieces clicked together as I mentally rewound the past year. Olivia became pregnant approximately 9 months ago. Round that same time, Tom Tom started going out more frequently. I am taking Liv to her appointment. She needs help building the nursery furniture. She has morning sickness and cannot be alone. At the time, I had thought, what a devoted brother. What a caring family. Now, replaying each instance, the sweetness felt wrong, too intense, too constant, too secretive. A sharp vibration from the bedroom yanked me from my thoughts. Tom's phone. He had forgotten it. Tom, who treated that device like an extension of his body. My heart began hammering before I even moved. I told myself to ignore it, to respect his privacy. Then I saw the preview illuminated on the screen. Olivia, love, I am almost done packing. I cannot wait to be near you again. These last days apart have been torture. Love. She had called my husband love. My hand moved on its own. Fingers trembling, I unlocked the phone. What I discovered in those next few minutes set fire to the last 12 years of my life. The first messages alone were enough to make me sink onto the edge of the bed, too dizzy to remain standing. Olivia had written, "Thank you for convincing Rachel. I cannot believe she swallowed our story. 6 months is not long, but at least we will be together every day. Our story. Together every day. My vision blurred, but I forced myself to keep scrolling. Another message from Olivia. I cannot wait for you to hold Noah properly. He needs to know his real father better. The phone slipped from my fingers and struck the floor with a dull thud. Real father. Noah was not Ben's child. He was Tom's. My husband had fathered a baby with his own sister. I tried to breathe, but the air felt thick, as though the room was flooding and I was trapped beneath the surface. When I could finally force my hands to function, I retrieved the phone and scrolled to the beginning of their message thread. I needed details. I needed to understand where this nightmare began and where it might end. The oldest text dated back 2 years. Tom had written, "Olivia, we have to stop this. You are my sister." Her response, "We are not even blood. Tom, Dad adopted you when you were 15. Remember, there is nothing wrong with how we feel. You know this. Adopted. In 12 years of marriage, Tom had never once told me he was adopted. I had met his father, quiet, stern, and assumed biological connection without question. Another secret, another break in the wall between the man I thought I knew and the stranger whose words I was reading. As I continued scrolling, I watched in digital slow motion as my marriage ended months before I ever suspected a thing. Initially, Tom had resisted. He wrote, "I am married. I will not hurt Rachel. She does not deserve this." But Olivia pressed relentlessly. She responded, "Do you love me or not? Because if you do not, I will stop. But if you do, we will find a way." His resistance crumbled with each subsequent message. Then came the pregnancy. Olivia, the test is positive. I am pregnant. Tom, our baby. I will take care of you both. I promise. I clamped a hand over my mouth, fighting the scream building in my chest. Months of scheming followed. Olivia wrote, "Ben is asking questions. The due dates do not align. I think he suspects." Tom replied, "Do not worry. When Noah is born, we will make him accept it. You will stay with me for a while. Rachel will understand. She trusts me completely. Rachel will understand. She trusts me completely." Trust, the very thing he was exploiting. The thing I had given him without reservation. Another message made my stomach plummet. "Olivia, I need a reason to stay at your apartment after the birth. I will invent a conflict with Ben. Do you think Rachel will agree to have me? Tom, leave Rachel to me. I will handle her. Handle me." What he had actually done was dictate. I scrolled further, tears distorting the screen. Photographs appeared, images of them at some cabin I did not recognize. Her, visibly pregnant, his hand resting on her belly, her head on his shoulder, his lips pressed to hers. A selfie from a hospital room. Olivia in a gown, exhausted but radiant, cradling Noah. Tom beside her, fingers brushing the baby's cheek. The caption read, "Our family. Finally. Our family." What was I, then? The housekeeper, the cover story, the free childcare. Another message from recent weeks made bile rise in my throat. Olivia, Does Rachel suspect anything? She asked why you are gone so often. Tom. No, she's so trusting. She believes everything I tell her. Trusting. Naive. Conveniently blind. He had weaponized my best quality against me. I barely reached the bathroom before I vomited. My body rejected the reality as though it were poison, incest, betrayal, manipulation, years of lies woven together into one monstrous tapestry. When I finally staggered back to the bedroom, I continued reading, masochistic and desperate for the complete truth. Months of them planning how to bring Olivia and Noah into my home so they could conduct their romance before my eyes while I cared for their child, and knowingly participating in their twisted fantasy. By the time their most recent messages appeared, the once ranging Sunday's move, I was no longer crying. I was hollow. Then, gradually, something new trickled into that emptiness. Not peace, not forgiveness. Cold, focused rage. The front door opened. Rachel, we are here. Tom's cheerful voice floated down the hallway like a cruel joke. I wiped my face, locked his phone, and placed it exactly where he had left it on the nightstand. Then I studied myself in the mirror. Red eyes, pale complexion, expression carefully flat. I forced my features into something neutral, not happy, not shattered, simply normal. And walked out to greet my husband, his lover, and their son. Tom stood in the living room, helping Olivia remove her coat. She held Noah in her arms, gazing up at Tom with a warmth I had never once seen directed at me. Double quotes. Hello, Rachel, she said, her gaze sliding past my face. Thank you for letting us stay. Letting them, as though I had possessed any choice whatsoever. Welcome, I managed. Astonished, my voice did not crack. Hello, Nur. Tom approached and kissed my cheek. The same daily gesture that once felt like comfort now felt like contamination. Rachel, this is Noah, he said proudly. As though introducing an ordinary nephew, I studied the baby and felt as though I had been struck. He was Tom's miniature replica, the same pale blue eyes, the same slightly crooked chin, even the distinctive ridge on the bridge of the nose. He is beautiful, I lied. Would you like to hold him? Olivia asked. No, that is all right. You must be exhausted from traveling. Let me show you your room. As I climbed the stairs ahead of them, I sensed their eyes on my back. I wondered if they detected anything amiss, if they could hear the storm raging beneath my composure. In the guest room, Olivia settled Noah gently into the crib, then began unpacking her suitcases with the ease of someone moving into her own home. Tom watched her every movement like a man hypnotized. I will let you get settled, I murmured, escaping before my composure shattered. Downstairs, I braced myself against the kitchen counter and struggled to breathe. 6 months. How was I supposed to maintain this pretense for 6 months? How was I supposed to sleep beside Tom each night knowing he had slipped down the hallway to her? How was I supposed to care for a baby who was living, breathing evidence of everything he had done? Then my gaze drifted to the kitchen window. Ben's truck had pulled into the parking lot. He climbed out slowly, retrieving a car seat from the truck bed. His shoulders slumped. His face appeared older, drawn, as though someone had drained all the color from his features. He moved like a man carrying a burden whose shape he did not yet understand. An idea sparked to life. If I was going to fight back, I did not have to do it alone. I slipped out the back door and intercepted him near the side of the building, hidden from the front windows. Ben, I called softly. He turned. What I saw in his eyes nearly broke me, not merely exhaustion, but that hollow, stunned expression I now recognized in my own reflection. Hey, Rachel, he said, just delivering the last of Liv's things. Sorry for all the disruption. His voice was empty, mechanical. Ben, I said, my heart pounding, may I ask you something? And I need you to answer honestly. All right? Are you certain Noah is your son? His entire demeanor shifted pain, fear, suspicion flickering across his features in rapid succession. He carefully set down the car seat and stared at me. Why would you ask that? He whispered. Because I discovered some things today. Messages, and they concern you as well. He glanced up toward our apartment, then back at me. What kind of messages? Tom left his phone behind. Olivia texted. I did not intend to look. But after what he told me this week, I swallowed hard. I read their entire conversation. He went pale. Tell me, he said hoarsely, please. Just tell me everything. We settled on a weathered bench beneath the maple tree at the side of the building. I drew a deep breath and laid it all before him. The love messages, the pregnancy, the scheme to move in with us. No are being described as Tom's son. Their timeline, their fantasies of a shared future dealt with each revelation. Ben seemed to diminish, folding it on himself. His hands trembled. His eyes glistened with unchecked tears. I knew something was wrong. He finally murmured. I simply did not realize it was this. What do you mean? I asked. He fixed his gaze on the ground, his voice fracturing. Months ago, Olivia changed. She stopped being present. She never wanted to talk. When she became pregnant, I was overjoyed. She looked like someone who had received a terminal diagnosis. He released a bitter laugh that broke halfway through. Throughout the entire pregnancy, she avoided physical closeness, always had an excuse: nausea, fatigue, doctor's orders to rest. After Noah arrived, she still would not let me near her. I kept convincing myself it was hormonal. He swiped at his eyes with the back of his hand. And at the hospital, a nurse joked that Noah resembled Mom's side of the family more than me. I laughed it off, but it lingered, especially once I started noticing how frequently she and Tom orbited each other. I retrieved my phone. While I had access to Tom's device, I had discreetly photographed several messages and images. Ben, look at this. I showed him a photograph of Tom cradling Noah in the hospital. The resemblance was undeniable. Ben studied the image for a long moment. God, he finally whispered. He looks exactly like Tom. You were not blind, I said quietly. You were deceived. We both were. I recounted Tom's late-night disappearances, the whispered conversations, the unilateral decision to install Olivia, our home. How every fragment now formed a devastating pattern. There is something else, Ben added, his voice hardening. In recent months, Olivia began complaining about you. She claimed you were cold, judgmental, controlling. It struck me as strange. I had never witnessed any of that. Now I understand. She was establishing a narrative, I realized aloud, so you would not question where she was going or why she wanted to stay with us. Ben nodded slowly. I recall one moment vividly. He said, about 6 months ago, at Tom's father's birthday gathering, I spotted Olivia and Tom in the far corner of the yard, deep in conversation, standing far too close. She had her hand on his arm, and they were laughing about something private. When I approached, they sprang apart like teenagers caught sneaking out. He offered a humorless smile. When I asked what was so amusing, Tom claimed they were planning a surprise for you, for your birthday. My birthday had passed 3 months earlier. I muttered, exactly. Ben sighed heavily. At the time, I chose to believe him. I wanted to. We sat in waited silence for several moments. Then Ben turned to face me directly. What are you going to do, Rachel? He asked. I contemplated my hands. I am uncertain, I admitted. If I confront them now, they will lie. They will twist the narrative. They will make me feel delusional. If I pretend ignorance, I will be living inside a nightmare every single day. Then a thread of an idea began forming, thin but resilient. But I do know this, I said slowly. They do not get to demolish two innocent people's lives and walk away feeling clever. His eyes met mine, and I saw something ignite their anger, perhaps relief. What do you need from me? He asked. First, I need you to feign ignorance. Continue visiting. Play the concerned husband. Ask routine questions. Let them feel secure. Understood? He nodded. And you? I am going to ensure they deeply regret underestimating me. That night, after everyone retired to bed, the apartment fell silent except for the refrigerator's hum and occasional infant cries drifting from the guest room. I lay in darkness, listening, counting. Tom rose 3 times. Each supposed bathroom visit lasted at least 15 minutes. I did not need to see down the hallway to know he was not simply brushing his teeth. By dawn, my plan had crystallized completely. It was not theatrical. It was not violent. It was cold, methodical, and absolutely final. I would give Tom precisely what he had demanded. A spotless home. Empty. Without me, on Monday, between classes, I did something I never imagined I would do. I compiled a list of every significant item in our apartment and estimated its value. The leather sofa, the solid wood dining table, the large television, the stainless steel refrigerator, the high-efficiency washer and dryer, the microwave, the blender, the espresso machine. Every item carried attached memories: movie nights, dinners with friends, lazy Sunday mornings. But those memories were contaminated now. Better to convert them into my escape route. During recess, I contacted several second-hand furniture and appliance dealers. Hello, I am looking to sell multiple items quickly. Living room furniture, dining set, television, kitchen appliances, all excellent condition. Do you purchase and arrange pickup? They did. Cash payment. Same day service. Perfect. At 2 o'clock. I met Ben at Maplewood Park, a quiet green space near the school. He appeared sleep-deprived, but there was a steadiness in his posture that had been absent the day before. How are you holding up? I asked. Poorly, he answered honestly. But I am finished being a doormat. Good, I replied, because I need a partner, not a victim. We claimed a bench distant from joggers and dog walkers. I outlined the plan in detail. I am liquidating everything in the apartment, I explained. Every substantial piece that bears both our names or that I purchased independently. I will use the proceeds to secure a small furnished rental. I will relocate my clothing and personal belongings in stages while they remain distracted. And then, Ben asked, and then, I said deliberately, I will leave that apartment exactly as Tom demanded. Spotless, for bare walls, clean floors, nothing else. Ben stared at me, then released an unexpected laugh. You are serious, he said, completely serious. And a note? He guessed. An extremely clear one, I confirmed, detailing exactly what I discovered and who assisted me in discovering it. He leaned back, exhaling for what seemed like the first time in days. Rachel, that is brutal, he said. I admire it. Will you help me? I asked. I need your van and your silence. You will have both, he said without hesitation. After what they did, this is the absolute minimum they deserve. That afternoon, I contacted the first furniture dealer and scheduled an appraisal. 3 o'clock today. I suggested. I will be home. Tom was at work. Olivia would likely be napping with no precisely on schedule. Two men arrived with clipboards and walked through the living room and dining area, recording notes. Everything is in excellent condition, one remarked. If you are interested, we can take the sofa, television, dining table, and chairs today, and pay cash. What is the total for everything? I inquired. The figure exceeded my expectations. Enough to cover a security deposit and first month's rent. Somewhere modest. Agreed, I said. But you will need to return at 6. Tom typically arrived home after 7. After they departed, I crept down the hallway and peered into the guest room. Olivia lay unconscious on the bed, Noah sleeping peacefully in his crib. She had heard nothing. At 6 o'clock, the truck returned. 3 workers efficiently dismantled my living room in under 40 minutes. When they finished, the space was reduced to bare walls and a few scuff marks on the floor. They handed me a thick envelope of cash. 10 minutes later, Tom opened the front door. He froze in the empty space. Rachel, what happened? He shouted. Where is all the furniture? Olivia rushed in behind him, eyes wide with alarm. What is going on? She gasped. Why is everything gone? I turned from the kitchen as though delivering cookies rather than deception. There was a leak in the apartment upstairs, I said calmly. The building manager came by. They need to access the ceiling and wall. I had to remove everything quickly to prevent damage. Tom frowned deeply. A leak. Nobody informed me of anything. They only discovered it this morning. I shrugged. A pipe in the upstairs bathroom. I signed the work authorization. It is temporary. The furniture is in storage. Olivia pressed her hand dramatically against her chest. And where are we supposed to sit? She complained. Where is the television? How am I supposed to feed Noah in a hard kitchen chair? You will manage for a few days, I said pleasantly. We still have the bedrooms, they grumbled, theorized, and protested, but ultimately accepted the explanation. They were to absorb in their private world to probe deeper. The following day, I repeated the process with the larger appliances. Another company, another cash envelope. The building says the leak is more extensive than initially thought, I explained when Tom gaped at the empty space where the refrigerator had stood. They are shutting off water for a week. It made no sense to keep anything that might sustain damage. How are we supposed to survive like this? Olivia snapped. Like adults who prepare meals with a microwave and takeout, I replied sweetly. She glared at me but remained silent. That afternoon, I met with a real estate agent Ben recommended. By Thursday morning, I possessed keys to a tiny furnished studio across town. Clean, simple, with just enough space for me and a fresh beginning. Thursday night, while Tom worked late and Olivia occupied herself upstairs with Noah, Ben and I quietly transported my clothing, essential documents, and a few sentimental items out of the apartment. We made multiple trips, carrying duffel bags and small boxes, never hauling anything conspicuous enough to attract attention. Are you absolutely certain? Ben asked as we loaded the final bag into his van. I gazed back at the building that had been my home for years. Yes, I said. Nothing remains for me there except trauma. Friday arrived. My final day as Tom's wife in any meaningful sense. At school, I stumbled through lessons. The children sensed my distraction, but mercifully did not press. During my lunch break, I retreated to my new studio and sat at the small table with a pen and blank paper. If this was the last thing Tom would ever receive from me, it needed to cut precisely. I wrote slowly, discarding the first attempt, then the second, until the words finally landed exactly right. Tom, you instructed me on Tuesday to make sure the place was spotless. Done. I sold the furniture and appliances and deposited the proceeds into my personal account. Consider it compensation for 12 years of unpaid emotional labor and the final week of being prepared to serve as nanny for your son with your sister. The apartment now reflects exactly what you deserve. Empty. I have relocated. I am safe. I have also spoken with Ben. We know everything: the affair, the pregnancy, the deception, and know is true paternity. From this point forward, you no longer need to conceal your family. You and Olivia can pursue your great romance openly, provided you can afford an air mattress and takeout. Do not contact me. All future communication will be handled through my attorney, Rachel, your former wife. I positioned the letter precisely where Tom always dropped his keys and phone, on the kitchen counter. Then I walked through each room one final time. No sofa, no television, no dining table, no refrigerator, no bed frame, only a cheap mattress I had left on the floor to avoid accusations of leaving him with absolutely nothing. The apartment smelled of cleaning products and fresh air, spotless. I locked the door behind me, slipped my key into my pocket, and descended to where Ben waited in his truck around the corner. Ready? He asked. As prepared as I will ever be. We positioned the vehicle on the adjacent street with a clear view of the building's entrance and waited. Around 5:40, Tom's car rounded the corner. He parked out front and emerged carrying a grocery bag. I wondered if he had purchased ingredients for a cozy family dinner in the home he had systematically destroyed. We observed as he disappeared inside. 1 beep, 2, 5, then his shout ripped through the evening calm. Olivia, get down here. Her face appeared briefly at the second floor window, confusion evident. She vanished, and seconds later, both their voices carried through the open window. What did you do, Tom? Where is everything? I did nothing. I walked in and it was completely empty. Were we robbed? How? The door was locked. Nothing is damaged. Then silence descended. Tom appeared momentarily at the kitchen window, letter clutched in his hand. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was the moment. We could not hear his voice distinctly at first, only the rising and falling cadence, the sharpening edges, Then it came one raw, unmistakable roar, Rachel. A moment later, they both stumbled onto the sidewalk. Olivia clutched Noah against her chest, face drained of color, eyes wild. She cannot have known, Olivia said, voice ragged. She cannot possibly have discovered the truth. She read the messages. Tom shouted, waving the letter. She knows everything. All our plans, Noah, everything. Watching them unravel in real time proved strangely clarifying. They appeared exactly as they were now. Not clever lovers, not tragic SOULMATES. Simply too selfish. Small people, suddenly stripped of their carefully constructed illusions. Tom stormed back inside, clearly attempting to call me. My phone vibrated repeatedly in my bag. I did not even glance at it. Ben looked at me. I nodded. It is time, I said. We stepped from the truck and walked directly toward them. Tom spotted us first. The color drained from his face as his gaze traveled from me to Ben and back, Rachel. He choked. What are you, Ben? Why are you with her? I smiled, a brittle, cold expression even I did not recognize. Hello, Olivia, I said pleasantly. How is the new living arrangement working out? What have you done? She screamed. Where are our belongings? The sofa, our bed, Noah's chair, our belongings? I echoed, interesting. As I recall, everything in that apartment was purchased by Tom and me. Primarily me, actually, given who covered the expenses while you two were busy playing Romeo and Juliet. Tom stepped toward me, then immediately positioned himself as a barrier. Rachel, listen, Tom said rapidly. We can resolve this. We can discuss it. This is a massive overreaction. An overreaction, I repeated, releasing a single laugh. You slept with your sister. You impregnated her. You deceived both me and Ben for years. You attempted to instill your secret family in my home and transform me into your complimentary nanny. And I am the one overreacting? How did you find out? Olivia asked, her voice barely audible. Your brilliant partner forgot his phone at home Sunday, I replied. Turns out you two are not nearly as intelligent as you believed. Ben stepped forward then, his voice low but unwavering. She showed me the messages. Liv, every declaration of love, every scheme to use me as a paycheck and cover story, every photograph of Noah with Tom. You lied to me every single day for 2 years. Olivia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ben, what? He interrupted sharply. You are going to claim it simply happened, that you were confused, that you did not intend for this. You planned it. Both of you, neighbors had begun gathering, faces appearing at windows, doors cracking open. Good. Let them witness. Let him experience the public humiliation he had engineered for me. Tom attempted another approach, shifting tactics mid-sentence as he always did when cornered. Rachel, you know I love you, he said urgently. You are my wife. Olivia and I made mistakes, but we can attend therapy. We can work through this. Do not use that word with me. I cut in. Love, you do not love people. You utilize them. You exploited me for stability. You exploited Olivia for your fantasy. You exploited Ben as a financial safety net and future scapegoat. I drew a breath, noticing my hands had finally ceased trembling. As far as I am concerned, Tom, our marriage ended the moment you decided I would cook and clean for your secret child without even revealing his true identity. Olivia clutched Noah more tightly, her voice rising to a shriek. So that is it? You simply leave us with nothing? She cried. You empty the apartment and walk away? Yes, I said simply. You never hesitated before stealing to people's lives. You can determine how to afford furniture. Ben turned to face her, his expression exhausted, but resolute. As for you, he said, expect communication from my attorney. I am filing for divorce. And do not worry, I will not contest custody. Noah is not my son, and I refuse to construct my future on your falsehoods. Ben, please, she sobbed. We have a baby. You and Tom have a baby, he corrected. I have a new opportunity for a life that does not revolve around someone who views me as a placeholder. Tom lunged forward. Rachel, you cannot do this, he shouted, desperation finally fracturing his anger. We shared 12 years together. You cannot discard all of that over one mistake. One mistake, I repeated quietly. This was not a momentary lapse. This was years of deliberate lies, of calculated manipulation, of mocking my trust in messages to your mistress. I stepped backward toward Ben's truck. And for the record, I added, my voice clear, I am not discarding anything. I am reclaiming what was always mine, my self-respect. We turned and walked away. Behind us, I could hear Olivia weeping, Tom calling my name, their words tumbling over each other in mounting panic. I did not look back. In the passenger seat of Ben's truck. As we pulled away from the building that had contained 12 years of my existence, my phone buzzed incessantly. I silenced it. How do you feel? Ben asked after several blocks. I considered the question. Like I just escaped a burning building and finally sealed the door behind me, I said. The pain persists. But at least I am no longer choking on smoke. That first night in my tiny studio, I prepared a simple dinner, pasta with jarred sauce on a single plate at a small second-hand table. No Tom, no Olivia, no infant cries penetrating thin walls. Just me, my meal, my thoughts. Tom called. Olivia called. His mother called. I powered off my phone and, for the first time in months, slept soundly through the night. On Monday, when I entered school, Erin examined me as though I had sprouted wings. You appear different, she observed. Lighter somehow. Did something happen? Something ended, I replied. And something better is beginning. She did not press further, simply squeezed my shoulder in understanding. News travels rapidly in families like Tom's. Within a week, I learned through various channels that he and Olivia had moved into Tom's father's house. All four of them, Tom, his father, Olivia, and Noah, crowded into a cramped two-bedroom space. Tom missed several workdays managing the chaos. His employer, already dissatisfied with his recurring family emergencies, terminated his position. Ben, meanwhile, initiated divorce proceedings. The process concluded faster than anyone anticipated. Olivia contested nothing, perhaps because she understood that any courtroom would view her story unfavorably. Months passed. I rebuilt. I began therapy. I started eating properly, sleeping adequately, painting again, something I had abandoned years earlier because Tom dismissed it as a waste of time if I was not selling work. I learned that silence could be comforting rather than ominous. 3 months after that Friday, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Hello, Rachel, it is Olivia. I nearly disconnected. Why are you contacting me? I asked. I wanted to apologize, she said, her voice small. You were correct. About Tom, I maintained my silence. When we initially moved in with his father, things were manageable, she continued rapidly. Difficult, but manageable. Then he lost his job. He blames everyone except himself. He is perpetually angry, controlling. He accuses me of insufficient gratitude. He claims Noah destroyed his life. My heart twisted, not for her, as she had inflicted unimaginable damage, but for that infant, trapped in a chaos he never chose. I realized, she continued, that he must have subjected you to the same treatment for years, manipulating you, gaslighting you, making you question your own perceptions. I am sorry, Rachel, for everything I did to you. And to Ben, I drew a breath. Olivia, I said, I hope, for Noah's sake, you eventually make different choices. I acknowledge your apology in the sense that I heard it, but acknowledgement does not erase anything. We are not friends. We never will be. This is our final conversation. I understand, she whispered. I disconnected and felt nothing but a quiet sense of closure. Time continued its passage. Ben and I maintained contact, initially for logistics, attorneys, documentation, loose ends. Then it evolved into check-in messages. How are you managing? Made it through today, all right? Then coffee, then walks in the park. He never pressured for more. I never promised anything. We both recognized we needed healing before attempting to construct anything new. 1 year later, we occupy a space somewhere between close friendship and perhaps someday more. But whatever this is, It rests on honesty. No secrets, no concealed phones, no family emergencies that mysteriously exclude a spouse. Tom has attempted to reach me numerous times. Emails, messages relayed through mutual acquaintances. Even a handwritten letter claiming he had transformed. Pleading for another chance, I never responded. Some bridges, once burned, should remain that way for everyone's benefit. When I reflect on that Tuesday in my kitchen, the sentence that initiated everything still echoes. Make sure the apartment is spotless. My sister is moving and so you can help with the baby. At the time, it registered as a simple power play. Now I recognize it for what it truly was. A complete confession of how he perceived me. Not as a partner. As unpaid labor. If he had not forgotten his phone that Sunday, I might still be there, cooking for 3 adults and an infant who was not mine, rocking my husband's child with another woman to sleep while he slipped down the hallway to her bed. As painful as it proved, that forgotten phone was the greatest gift I ever received. Those messages demolished walls I never knew existed. They revealed the full scope of Tom and Olivia's cruelty, not merely the infidelity, but the meticulous, calculated manner in which they prepared to exploit Ben and me as shields, wallets, and alibis. They underestimated us. They anticipated tears, perhaps an argument, then resignation. Instead, they received exactly what they deserved: public exposure, genuine consequences, the loss of 2 people who had actually loved them honestly. My revenge did not restore the 12 years I invested. It did not instantly mend the betrayal, but it provided something invaluable. My self-respect. The knowledge that I am not someone who quietly absorbs humiliation and offers gratitude in return, and the opportunity to reconstruct a life founded on truth rather than illusion.